Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down.
All right. Well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir.
I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't have the tag on
here. Unless you have a membership
number
or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Everyone in the background is saying, is he dead? Nolan, wake the up.
Claiming they're sinking and calling for help. And yet, in the background, are we really hearing all of this other activity?
Nobody has ever, none of the kids on this boat have ever admitted that anybody said that they thought Nolan was dead.
A former Mississippi judge just looked into a camera and said the word every prosecutor in Jackson County has been avoiding for a month: murder. He said he would sign the warrant today. Not tomorrow, not after another meeting. Today. His name is Carlos Moore. He is a former Mississippi judge. He is a working attorney. He is a Southern man with Southern roots. He has sat on a bench in this state. He has read state law for a living. He knows exactly what he is doing when he opens his mouth in front of a camera. And over the last 48 hours, on August 1st and 2nd, he did something no other person in a black robe has done in this case. He picked a lane, he picked it in public, and he dared the sitting district attorney to answer him. That is not a small move. That is a chess move. That is the kind of move that changes what happens next. Let me lay out what he actually said, because I want you to hear it in his tone, not in mine. He said, based on the physical findings that have been circulating from the state autopsy, based on the 12 by 8 centimeter posterior head discoloration, based on the claim about the missing hyoid and throat structure, if this file landed on his desk when he was a sitting judge, he would sign a murder warrant today, right now, this afternoon. That is a former judge saying on the record that in his professional opinion, based on the physical evidence, the file supports a homicide charge. You are not going to hear a stronger statement from anyone with legal authority in this case. Not from Ben Crump, not from the family lawyer, not from any commentator, because Moore actually held the seat, he actually held the pen. He actually signed warrants for a living. And now he is telling the state of Mississippi, without hedging, that the paperwork is ready. The question is only whether someone in the current chair is willing to move it. Let me back up and give you the piece of context you need for this to hit right. In every criminal case, there is a moment where the public and the courts sit on opposite sides of a very small room. The public wants an arrest. The courts want a case that can win. The two things are not the same. A lot of families have watched a prosecutor pass on charges because the file was not tight enough. That is the reality of how the machine works. So when a former judge stands up in public and says the file is tight enough, he is doing two things at once. He is telling the family they are not crazy. And he is telling the sitting DA that history is watching. Both of those signals have weight. And the second one has more weight than most people understand. Now let me walk you through the physical findings Moore referenced. I am going to keep this at a level that is fair to the family and fair to the audience. I am not going to sensationalize a boy's autopsy for views. I am going to explain what the terms mean in plain language, so you understand why a working attorney would look at these findings and think about a warrant. The first finding is a 12 by 8 centimeter discoloration on the back of the head. 12 by 8 centimeters is about the size of a small paperback book cover. That kind of area of discoloration in that location is consistent with an impact. It is not the kind of mark you get from bumping into a boat rail. It is the kind of mark that a forensic pathologist puts in a report because it matters. Whether it happened before death, at the moment of death, or immediately after death is a question the sealed report answers. Moore has cited it as one of the reasons he would move on a warrant. The second finding is the claim about missing hyoid and throat structure. The hyoid is a small bone in your neck. It sits at the top of the throat, right below the jaw. In most natural deaths, especially drownings, that bone is intact. When that bone is fractured or when structures around it are missing, forensic pathologists take that finding very seriously because manual pressure on a person's neck, meaning a hand around a throat, is one of the mechanisms that can leave that specific pattern. I am not saying that is what happened. I am not the judge. I am not the pathologist. I am telling you what a former judge said on camera about what those findings suggest to him. That is a very careful distinction, and it matters. Moore mapped those two findings to a manual strangulation theory. That is a specific legal and forensic direction. It is not the only possible explanation, but it is the direction a former judge is publicly pointing. And once a former judge points that direction in front of a national audience, the sitting DA has to answer whether the state's own findings agree. Now, this is the chess move I want you to see clearly, because it is bigger than the individual claim. The sitting Jackson County DA is holding a sealed autopsy. That autopsy has physical findings. Those findings are known to a small circle. That circle includes state pathologists, state investigators, and a handful of people connected to the family's legal team. Some pieces of what is inside that report have leaked out. Judge Moore has read what has leaked, and based only on the leaks, he is saying the case is chargeable. If Moore is right, then the DA is now in a difficult spot. The DA cannot say the sealed autopsy contradicts Moore, because then the DA would be leaking the sealed file. The DA cannot say the sealed autopsy agrees with Moore, because then the DA would be moving the case before the grand jury has done its work. The DA is stuck between silence and confirmation, both of which now favor movement. That is what Moore did on purpose. He boxed the DA into a corner where doing nothing looks worse than doing something. Older folks, this is exactly the kind of legal pressure that only works when a black professional applies it in public. Because when Ben Crump says charge someone, everyone expects Ben Crump to say charge someone. That is what Crump does. When a former judge from Mississippi says it, in Mississippi, with knowledge of Mississippi law, in his own state, in his own voice, it lands differently. It lands with authority. It lands with the weight of a person who has actually signed warrants in courtrooms Moore has stood in. That kind of pressure moves DAs, not always, not automatically, but it moves them. Let me tell you what a district attorney's day looks like when a former judge publicly demands a warrant. The phones start ringing. The phones do not stop ringing. Local reporters call, national reporters call, community leaders call, church leaders call, elected officials call. Everybody calls asking the same question. Do you agree with the former judge or not? And the DA cannot answer either way without paying a price, so the DA moves. Not always fast, not always visibly, but behind the scenes, the DA moves. Meetings get scheduled, files get pulled off shelves, investigators get called in, timelines get accelerated, the Overton window shifts. The window is the range of what a public official can say without political cost. Moore just pushed the window 5 feet toward charging someone. That push does not unpush. Now, I want to say something about how brave this move actually is, because it takes real courage for a former judge to say the word murder about a case that is still under active investigation. Most former judges do not do that. Most former judges write op-eds. Most former judges appear on panels. Most former judges hedge every sentence with the phrase possibly and the phrase alleged and the phrase we do not yet know. Moore skipped the hedges. He looked into a camera and said what he thought. That kind of clarity from a legal professional is rare. It is worth respecting, even if you disagree with him, because he put his reputation on the line for a family he does not know, in a case he is not being paid on, in a state where speaking that way about a possible homicide involving a specific friend group carries real professional cost. That is what a man of principle looks like. That is what an older audience recognizes when they see it. That is what your grandmother would say deserves a nod of respect, even if you do not agree with every word. Moore is not doing this for clicks. Moore is doing this because he believes the file supports it. And he is doing it in public because he wants the sitting DA to feel the ground move. The ground just moved. Now here's where the story goes next. Once a former judge has publicly said the case is chargeable, the sitting DA has 3 options. Option 1, agree in a filing. Option 2, disagree in a filing. Option 3, do nothing and pray the news cycle moves on. Option 3 used to work in Mississippi. It does not work anymore. Not with the internet, not with Instagram, not with a mother who has more followers than the local newspaper. So the DA is going to have to pick between 1 and 2. And every day that passes without a pick, the pressure to pick option 1 grows louder, because silence in the presence of a public accusation of chargeable homicide over time reads like agreement. Christine Wonsley knows that. Her legal team knows that. Ben Crump's office knows that. They are all going to keep the pressure on Moore's public statement in the coming days. They are going to reference it in filings. They are going to reference it in interviews. They are going to make it impossible for the DA to answer any question in the coming weeks without also having to answer whether Moore was right. That is a public relations trap. It is also a legal trap. Because when the DA does eventually file charges, if he does, the first question every reporter is going to ask is, does this agree with the former judge? And when the DA does not file charges, if he does not, the first question every reporter is going to ask is, how does the DA respond to the former judge? Every road out of this box goes through Moore's statement now. I want you to understand what a gift this is to the Wells family, because before August 1st, the family was carrying this alone. Christine Wonsley on Instagram, Ben Crump on cable news, the family attorneys in the filings, that was the entire pressure team. Now they have a former Mississippi judge on the record publicly signaling that the case is chargeable. That is a new voice at a new decibel level, and that voice knows the local law. The family is not alone anymore in a professional legal sense. That matters more than 100,000 comments on a viral post, because commenters do not move district attorneys. Former judges do. Now let me be honest about the risk in Moore's move. There is one. If the sealed autopsy, when it is finally revealed, does not fully support the manual strangulation theory, Moore is going to take a hit. His statement will be quoted back at him, his judgment will be questioned, his future in Mississippi legal circles could pay a small price. He knows that. He said it anyway. That tells you what he thinks the sealed autopsy says, because a man who does not think the file supports him does not put his neck out this far. Moore has clearly seen enough of what is leaked and enough of what people close to the case are whispering to feel comfortable putting his name on the line. That is a data point, a very quiet one, but a real one. Watch what happens over the next 48 hours. Watch whether other former Mississippi judges join Moore. Watch whether the DA's office issues any statement at all. Watch whether Sean Tyndall, the state commissioner, changes his tone about anything. And watch whether the Wonsley legal team amplifies Moore's statement inside their own filings. Every one of those signals is going to tell you where the case is really heading. Because when a former judge says he would sign the warrant today, he is not saying it for himself. He is saying it for the mother who cannot legally sign it herself. He is saying it for the family that cannot arrest anyone. He is saying it for the community that has been waiting for one professional voice to say what everybody has been feeling. That voice just spoke. Now the state of Mississippi has to answer him. And the next move belongs to a district attorney who is running out of quiet.